up here?
Welcome everyone to this Big Guy Backpacking Adventure. This time we are going to be hiking up Mount Isolation via the Rocky Branch Trail. Me, plus 4 additional adventurers, are making the trip up the mountain this early June weekend, starting off of Route 16 near the Pinkham Notch Visitor Center. While Mount Isolation via the Rocky Branch Trail could be a moderate to difficult yet doable day hike, we decided to turn this into a comparatively easy overnighter to make the most of the weekend and maximize our time in the woods. I know a lot of people get caught up in speed running trails to see how fast they can get them done, and maybe that's the funnest for you, but for me, I like to minimize the stress of the hike and allow for downtime to relax or photograph the beautiful White Mountain National Forest. Given we completed this hike in June of 2020, as you can see by the footage, the trail was still very muddy and wet. The trail reports all did report these conditions, so we were prepared, but it still slowed us down a little more than it might have in a drier season. This is also somewhat ironic since most of the hike takes place in the, quote, dry river wilderness, which it is not dry. The route we took to the summit can be broken down into 2 main sections, the first starting from the trailhead to the first time crossing the Rocky Branch River, and the second section following the first crossing all the way to the summit via the Isolation Trail. 80% of the initial section to the river is essentially all vertical, with some switchbacks following a small plateau and then a descent to the river, which is basically just rock hopping a smaller feeder stream to the river.
So when I read about this trail, it said it was a little muddy and it followed a stream. I interpreted that as the trail was next to the stream, not the trail is the stream. Now we know.
Overall, the first section of the hike is fairly simple, getting to and then crossing the river, which may be more or less difficult depending on the current flow rate when you take the hike.
You can snack up there too if you want.
White Mountain Rivers.
When we went, the flow rate was higher, and so we decided to ford the river rather than rock hop upstream. Afterwards, we took this opportunity to dry our feet and have a snack and enjoy the early summer weather on the bank of the White Mountain River. After making it to the start of the Isolation Trail East intersection, we then had to cross the river back and forth several times, which can be mildly annoying, but the upside is that the trail mostly follows the river, which makes for great ambiance overall on the trail.
You're gonna have to get, yeah.
My sandals anyways. Yay!
On our hike up, we also saw lots of moose sign, from fresh droppings to prints in the mud. Another group we passed even caught a glimpse of the moose on the trail.
So we're at one possible campsite. But the problem is that I'm not sure if it's in use actually, or if we should be here, and you gotta like jump over a big ass river to get here. Yeah, this doesn't look like a campsite to me. Oh, there's a camp spot. Better for hammocks. All the tent sites are gone.
Is this the tree?
Yes.
Holy fuck! Haha! My balance.
You did it.
After confirming the first potential campsite we identified via trail research ahead of time did exist, but was already full, we kept our way on up the mountain to the primary campsite we wanted to stay at, which was closer to the summit and would allow us to stay on the summit past sunset with a shorter night hike back to camp. After making our way up to the primary campsite location we wanted to stay at, we discovered, like most of the trail before it, it had also been partially flooded and too muddy to set up a tent in. Luckily, we were able to snag the few best spots available as we were the first ones there, and just in time, as 10 to 20 minutes after setting up our camp, several more hikers showed up looking for a place to spend the night. Once everything was set up, we made and ate lunch as it started to rain a bit. Half the group decided to take a rest, though I wanted to go to the summit as soon as possible. The trail from the camp to the summit was the muddiest portion of the hike. This section would be much easier in late summer or fall when it's drier, but expect wet and muddy conditions if you go earlier in the season as we did.
Keep going. Duck down.
Mike, it is. Mike, you do. Not like a hard balance. You know.
I just heard you talking, and I was like, they're coming up.
Vanity's coming up the mountain. Remember those nasty ass people? We're the only ones up here?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Fast forward another couple hours and the rest of the group made it to the summit.
Oh, this pretty. Yeah, that was piece of hell.
I took a fucking tumble.
I took a little tumble.
I didn't fall into the mud. I just
As part of the plan, and as I had alluded to beforehand, one of the reasons we decided to stay overnight was so that we could hang out, make dinner, and see the sunset from the peak of the mountain. With plenty of time to spare after dinner, I was able to set up the camera for a couple shots. I would rate the sky conditions as fair to average, with some cloud covering colors, but nothing spectacular. Honestly, the vistas facing away with the moon and large fluffy clouds were almost better than the views towards the mountains. Though this location is still prime, and I'm definitely going to be coming back here in the future with more time to wait for ideal conditions, or possibly in the fall with a little bit more color in the trees. Or both. After a nice evening on the mountain and a downright luxurious amount of sleep, we got up and took our time eating breakfast, packing up. Another benefit of shorter overnight trips. Hiking back down the trail, we were greeted with a picturesque morning. Light from the morning sun was dappling the trail with puddles of light, listening to the sounds of the forest, the sweet smell of wet pine trees, and soaking in the reflections of the sky in those puddles. The trail itself, which is rated hard on all trails, I found to be more of a moderate hike. The only technical part about it really are the river crossings, or if, like us, you go early season and experience a wet and muddy trail. It is certainly doable as a day hike, or worth turning into a longer hike via one of the many connecting trails in the area. While the water level makes crossing somewhat difficult, they also make for serene places to stop and enjoy the forest. Much of the upper trail follows the Rocky Branch River, which makes for a pleasant and otherwise interesting hiking experience. If you've been hiking for any sort of time, you do come to realize that many of the trails, while having beautiful vistas and, after the fact, are worthwhile, can be quite boring staring at trees and rocks and roots for hours on end. Another reason why this trail might be considered difficult is that the upper section, following the Rocky Branch River, is not blazed very well and can sometimes be hard to follow. For this reason, I always bring a backup paper map and a compass to go along with the AllTrails map and navigational tools I generally use. If you're unaware, you can generally use a GPS signal on your phone even without a cell or internet connection, so you can line up your point on a pre-downloaded map to gauge where you are, though it's always important to have a backup just in case that runs out of battery, or you actually don't have a GPS signal. Again, on our way back down, we had to cross the river several times.
What?
Making it back to the original junction, we also found a better way to cross without having to get our feet wet this time. Though one of us had already fallen in a previous crossing and decided to just send it in this last one as well. Overall, I recommend this trail as it offers a technical challenge without being overly physical or demanding, as an either relatively long day hike or similarly easy overnighter. I'm personally planning on coming back here in the fall for the foliage and hopefully better sunset conditions in the sky. Anyways, everybody, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you at the next one.
Made it.